Hello students, today we will read the poem Lotus Eaters. It was written by Alfred Lord Tennyson. Before starting the poem, let me tell you something about the story of the poem, the genesis of the poem, or from where it came. The story line behind this poem was taken from the Greek poet Homer's Odyssey. This was a epic poem, Odyssey. Iliad and Odyssey, these two were the epics which were written by Homer. So, in this epic Odyssey, Homer talks about Ulysses or Odysseus, the Greek hero about whom this epic he has written. So, in this epic, on his journey back to his homeland Ithaca from the war of Troy, Ulysses and his men, they land on this island of Lotephagoi, or the island of Lotus Eaters. The account which Homer has given in his epic is very small about this Lotus Eater Islands, or the island of Lotephagoi. What Homer has written is goes like this: that on the 10th day we set off on the land of the Lotus Eaters, who feed on food of flowers, and there we set foot on shore and drew us water. When we had tasted our food and drink, I sent forward shipmates to go and ask what manner of men they might be who lived in the land. And they went their way forthwith and mixed with the Lotus Eaters. So the Lotus Eaters plotted no harm to our shipmates, but gave them lotus to eat. But whoever of them ate the honey sweet fruit of the lotus, no longer was he to bring back tidings or to come back, but there they wished to abide, feeding on the lotus with the Lotus Eaters and all forgetful of home. This is how Homer has described this whole incident in his epic Odysseus. But Tennyson here in this poem, he has completely elaborated the whole poem, and he has elaborated it in a verse form. Before talking about the poem, I would also like to introduce you to this story of this Odysseus, or this War of Troy, or this all. Uh, as per the Greek legendary stories, the story goes like this: that there used to be a very beautiful queen named Helen. She was the wife of Menelaus, and Paris, the prince of Troy, he visited their kingdom, and he falls in love with Helen, and he abducted Helen. The kingdom of Troy, of whose prince the Prince Paris was, it was undefeatable. And Menelaus knows this thing, that he alone cannot bring his wife back, and he cannot win a war with Paris. So what he does, that when it was the marriage ceremony of Helen, at that time there were many suitors who wants to marry Helen. They all came there and took part in that ceremony, though Menelaus wins over the others and marries to Helen. What happens there, that after that no one should cause any harm to Helen or to Menelaus, all the kings and princes who has participated in that ceremony, they were being forced to take an oath that in near future or whenever it is needed, they will not harm Helen and they will protect Helen. So Menelaus calls all the kings and princes, making them remember that oath, and they wage a war against Paris, the prince of Troy. As per the legend goes, this war ended in a decade, and after, due to some curse by some god, it is being said that it took 10 years for Ulysses to return back to his own land, Ithaca. Due to some curse by some god, they kept on moving here and there, but they could not reach their home island for 10 years. So, in that journey, when they were returning back from the Trojan War to their own land, they reached the source of this island of Lotephegoi, and there they were welcomed by the inhabitants of that island. It is being narrated, it is being described as the people who were living there, they used to eat this fruit named lotus, and this fruit has a very lethargic effect on whosoever eats it. Though Homer has given a very small description, but here what Tennyson describes it, that the first feeling which they had before reaching the source of this Lotus Eaters Island, that they want to go back home. They were the fighters, they were the soldiers, they were the sailors who wants to reach their home. They were wandering for the very long period, but when they reached here, when they ate that fruit, they had the feeling that now they won't go anywhere and will remain here only without thinking of going anywhere else. The feeling is of languor and indolence. Means they don't want to do anything. They don't want to go anywhere else. The fruit has a very kind of satisfying effect on them, and they all falls asleep under its effect. The poem is a dramatic monologue. Now, what is a dramatic monologue? We have dialogue and then we have monologue. Dialogue is a kind of conversation which takes place between two people, but in monologue we have a dialogue, we have a conversation between one man only. The other person who is the listener is supposed to be there, but nothing comes from his side. Now that is monologue, means a single speaker speaks, but he speaks with someone who is silent there. And dramatic means it has some elements of drama in it. The person who is speaking, the person who is addressing in this monologue, in this conversation, he adds up some moments, some hints, some actions, so that it becomes easy for the listener to comprehend what he is trying to say to him, because he is supposed to be silent. It has two parts. The first part is in the form of address by Ulysses or Odysseus to his men. The first 45 lines are in this form. These first lines are written in Spenserian stanzas. These are 5 stanzas of 9 lines each, and they are written in Spenserian stanzas. And the later part of the poem is written in unmannered way. The lines are of the lines and stanzas they are of different lengths, and they move through different moods, whatever the mood, just like that. So let's start with the poem. Courage, he said, and pointed toward the land. This mounting wave will roar shoreward soon. In the afternoon they came unto a land in which it seemed always afternoon. All round the coast the languid air did swoon, breathing like one that hath a weary dream. Full faced above the valley stood the moon, and like a downward smoke the slender stream along the cliff to fall and pause and fold did seem. The very first word, courage, it is a very strong imperative word in which the person, the speaker, Ulysses himself, he is encouraging his sailors, he is encouraging his soldiers, his companions to be courageous, to have some courage, to have some patience. Why? Because after a very long sea journey, he beholds, he looks, he sees a sign of land somewhere. So he says courage and pointed towards the land. This is the dramatic element which comes here, that he points towards the land, that look courage there. This mounting wave, the wave which is mounting the sea waves, which is the high wave which is coming towards us, this wave will roll us shoreward very soon. That's why he says, be courageous, don't lose hope, be hopeful, because this wave, the next wave which is coming towards us, this wave will roll us certainly towards the shore, and then we will have land, we will have some comfort. And in the afternoon they came unto a land, and as was being professed, as was being told by the commander to his comrades, that courage, he said, and pointed towards the land. So in the afternoon they came unto a land. They reached the land, they reached the shore, in which it seemed always afternoon. And the very first thing which attracts towards this island, and which describes something about this island, is what? That this island is something where, what is special here, that there it seemed always afternoon, no morning, no evening. Means as per those countries, these are the cold countries, so afternoon is the happy time, afternoon is the feel good time there. So he says it seemed always afternoon, it seems always happy, it seems always cheerful there. All round the coast the languid air did swoon. The effect that the air is also languid, it's a very slow kind of language, air was flowing there, means no hurry was there, it seems very cool, it seems very peaceful, it seems very patient there. The air itself has no hurry to blow, it is just swinging in a very slow motion, breathing like one that hath a weary dream. And that air, it is compared to that person who who is having a weary dream, means who is having some dreadful dream, some painful dream. And that person, the way in which he breathes in his sleep, in the same manner the air was flowing on the island. And full faced above the valley stood the moon. It was daytime, it was afternoon, and but look, that full faced above the valley, there was the moon, full faced. Means it is afternoon, but still the moon is there. It was full faced, and like a downward smoke, the slender stream along the cliff to fall and pause and fold its seam. And like a downward smoke, in the earlier line, breathing like one that hath a weary dream, we have a simile. Again we are having a simile, a comparison, that like a downward smoke, generally what happens, that the smoke goes upward, but here like a downward smoke, as if the smoke is going downwards, the slender stream, slender means that small stream which was falling down from the hills along the cliff to fall and pause and fold its in. Look at the musical quality of this line, that along the cliff to fall and pause and fold its in. Means there might be some hindrances, there might be some trees or other things through which this stream was coming downwards. So, but where it is visible, it seems that it is falling, then it pauses. Again, it folded seam, as if means the stream is flowing in such a continuous, in such a peaceful manner that sometimes it seems to fall and sometimes it seems to pause. So the very first lines of this poem, they make a kind of atmosphere, that the atmosphere was very peaceful, the air was blowing in a very silent manner, the stream, it is narrated by the poet in a very musical manner, that the stream is flowing in such a sweet manner that it seems to be falling and stopping, falling and pausing, falling and pausing. We will take up the rest of the poem tomorrow.